Hello and welcome to another edition of the Total Basis Podcast. I'm your host, Felipe Milicio, and with me, as always, is Sean Flannery. Sean, how you feeling over there?
I'm doing awesome, man. Absolutely great.
So you guys can't see it, but Sean is coughing up a lung over there. He's not at 100%, but you know what it is, Sean?
Half a lung.
Half a lung. Oh, that's not good. But you know what it is, Sean. Usually you know what you're made out of when you go out there. It's your turn to pitch, and you don't have your good stuff. How are you going to react with your bad stuff? So we're going to find out today as Sean is going to be with us for the next hour or so. So we'll see how long he'll last. But you know what? You're in luck, Sean, because today we're going to be talking about relief pitching. Relievers. So that's the one thing we didn't get to on Thursday. We're going to get to it right now. So where did you want to start? And I guess I should point out that on Thursday, we left off with Julian Merriweather leading all relievers on WAR, Fangraphs WAR. And then this morning, Sunday morning, right here on the Baseball Live Facebook group for the recording of the Total Basis podcast show, Craig Kimbrell now leads all relievers in WAR. Did you see that coming, Sean, after 1 week?
We looked at it briefly, I believe, before the season started, and we talked about his last few appearances, like in 2020. And he went, I think it was 6 or 7 outings, something like that, where he looked like the Craig Kimbrell of old.
Yeah.
And so far this year, he looks like the Craig Kimbrell of old. 4 2/3 innings, has 9 strikeouts, no walks, which I think is the biggest thing to mention with him, was because it just looked like his command was gone. Also, he hasn't given up a hit. So he's thrown 4.2 perfect innings and has 2 saves already. So that's a pretty good combo there.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction, especially for a Cubs team that really could use some relief pitching help for the last 3 or 4 years, it seems like. So Craig Kimbrell at age 33 is finally living up. Damn, he's 33 years old? Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought he was maybe 30, even 34. Somewhere in that range.
All right. That's weird. I mean, he looks like he's like at the end of his. Well, there are times where he looks like he's at the end of his road. And yeah, he'll be 33 in May 28th. So holy crap. It seems like he's been in the league forever, but no, it's only since 2010. This is his 11th season. Well, not really, because he did take a year off, it seemed like, or was he signed late, something like that. But regardless, he looks like he's older than that. But hey, if he's averaging 96.6 miles per hour, so maybe he has found something to.
Melvin does make a good point down here in the comment section that it has mainly come against the Pirates.
You mean the Pirates that keep beating our ass? The Cubs' ass? So I don't know, man. The Pirates, they look bad on paper, and then they face the Cubs, and they look superhuman. I don't know. He is asking a quick question. Pull the trigger on Tommy Pham, yes or no? I don't think so, right, Sean?
I mean, I think he's going to be towards the top of that lineup with Tatis out, even though they said Tatis might be coming back.
Do you want him back?
Yeah. Pham has... I don't think you should drop him. And if you're talking about adding him, then I'm not sure if you would immediately start him. It just depends on the rest of your lineup, though.
All righty. Let's what else did we need to talk about? Well, you know what? Someone did ask me about the St. Louis Cardinals situation. It looks like what's his face? Alex Reyes is going to be the guy, but I see Giovanni Gallegos is third in Fangraphs WAR among relief pitchers as well. And then they still got Jordan Hicks, he of the 100-mile-per-hour fastball. What do you make of the St. Louis Cardinals relief corps?
I mean, right now with St. Louis, it's their entire plan for Alex Reyes is to eventually start again. But John Mazzoliak said before this season, Reyes will be employed strictly as a reliever, but they hope to get him close to 100 innings. Which makes me think that as the season goes on, they might use him more as a bridge man, fireman role, like, Andrew Miller, Seth Lugo type. But so far this year, he's been given the majority of the save opportunities. He already has 3 saves. The only people 3 saves or more in baseball right now are Mark Melancon in San Diego, Jake McGee in San Francisco, and Alex Reyes at 3 in St. Louis. So right now, he is the guy to, get if he's somehow still available. I had somebody offer. I already had Alex Reyes on my team, and he offered me Jordan Hicks for Nick Madrigal, and he's like, "Oh, you want to go ahead and lock up all the St. Louis saves?" He says because they're probably going to move Alex Reyes out of the saves role, and I was like, "Well, then offer me that trade then, because I'm not accepting it now. Like I already have the St. Louis saves. I don't need the St. Louis holds. This is just a saves league. So
right. And speaking of holds, I'm seeing that Genesis Cabrera has 2 holds in the last week or this week since Monday. Giovanni Gallegos is up there as well. So no, that's looking like a really good bullpen in St. Louis. It's just I don't trust it as much. But if Alex Reyes is going to be definitively the ninth inning guy, then let's go with it. Julian Merriweather, I dropped him in my points league. I don't know if that's going to bite me in the ass or not, but I went and picked up Nate Eovaldi after our show on Thursday, just because he's going to be doing 2 starts next week. So I might as well go with it and see what happens. But am I going to regret dropping Julian Merriweather here, Sean?
Possibly. I think he is the best pitcher in that bullpen. I mean, if you just look at his stuff, he's throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs with 82-mile-an-hour changeups, and he just seems to have very good command of both of those pitches right now. So I would lean towards having kept him, but that's also because I spent 250 fab on him in the TGFBI league. So
you're just trying to justify that. Now,
yeah,
I'm looking at the Blue Jays relief situation over at Roster Resource. Holy crap, this is the complete opposite of what the Cardinals were giving, where at the very least, you had some guys giving you holds and even some cheap wins. I'm looking at the Blue Jays. It's all blank. It just shows the number of pitches, and that's it. And Ryan Baruchi going to the IL. The last time the Blue Jays bullpen got a save was Saturday with Tommy Milone, and he's supposed to be the long relief guy.
Tommy Milone got a save?
Yeah, after throwing 42 pitches, apparently.
It was probably one of those. It was probably a 3-inning save. I would bet with 42 pitches.
I know they had a blowout recently. It might have been yesterday against the Angels. So, but I'm looking at it. It's all blank. It just shows the number of pitches. There's nobody who's won anything in terms of cheap wins that relievers can get once in a while. No holds, no saves. This is a useless bullpen, Sean. And they still got 3 guys listed to be the closer in Jordan Romano and Rafael Dolis. But you're right. Merriweather has. I mean, we're seeing on the leaderboard here. Merriweather has been the best of the best so far, and for whatever reason, he's not getting. I mean, he hasn't pitched since Thursday. So.
Yeah, Lucas Kelly over at Rotographs, the fantasy side of Fangraphs, he recently put out a piece just earlier this morning about bullpen reporting, and he has an entire list down at the bottom of where it shows all 30 teams and like the back end of the bullpen guys, and right now he just has Merriweather, Romano, and Dolis, just bracketed in as a committee. And just from the little bit of the Blue Jays that I've seen so far this year, it appears that Romano is being used as the we're in trouble, we're about to face the middle of the lineup, get him in the game. So maybe that is something that takes him out of some of the save opportunities, just because the likelihood he gets used earlier in games is higher. And then if I have to pick between Julian Merriweather or Rafael Dolis, like, come on, you know who I'm picking there.
Also, Romano hasn't pitched since Thursday. Dolis hasn't pitched since Thursday. So, I like I said, I know both the Angels games have been blowouts, but if you're a fantasy owner and you got Merriweather or even Romano, it's pretty damn frustrating that you're kind of just waiting around.
Patience, young grasshopper.
Oh man, not if you're in a points league like I am. I need the results right now. So so besides Edwin Diaz, who also I don't think it didn't.
He hasn't had a save opportunity yet. He came in and pitched on Thursday in a down by 1 run, and he looked okay. And then he came in on Saturday down by 1 run, and he gave up a double to Marte, a broken bat hit to Jesus Aguilar. Didn't record any strikeouts, walked a batter. So he had 2 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned run, and then
bottom line, Sean, he got me -3 points on that.
Yeah, it was going to be a negative point outing.
I am so mad. And then Jacob deGrom didn't get the win anyway. So
what was the highlight of that day? And shout out to Alex Chamberlain for retweeting this for me, because he's absolutely awesome. He's got a huge following of his own. But it was against the Marlins. Anthony Bass, after he struggled in Thursday's home opener for the Mets, Don Mattingly after the game said, hey, Anthony Bass is still our closer, and he came pretty close to saying it. But then Saturday afternoon, when he was talking to the press, he was very ho-hum that Anthony Bass is just going to be used where we need him. And lo and behold, who warmed up for the save in the 9th inning for the Miami Marlins?
Was it my guy, Yimi Garcia?
Yimi Garcia!
Damn right. About damn time.
And so I went on Twitter and I put out the red alert on Yimi Garcia warming up in the bullpen. And I was like, we've only been waiting since the beginning of 2020 pre-pandemic when he signed that contract. And I saw several people on Twitter say, I'm not investing in Yimi Garcia. His floor is like, they just weren't excited about it. And I guess when you go back and you look at some of his prior seasons, he has been really bad before, but he's also been, his skill set is one that does scare you a little bit as a closer since he has been homer prone in his career. Okay. But the expected batting average over the last 3 years, I mean, he's had 3 years where he's had an XBA under 200. The strikeouts are up. There's a lot of white noise in his numbers this year since he's only had like 12 batted balls and less than 100 pitches thrown. But I think he's really good, and he looked good against the Mets in both appearances, both on Thursday when he got a hold and on Saturday when he got a save. So Yimi Garcia, I believe, is the closer now in Miami, which is fun to say.
I mean, we've been clamoring for it all off season long, and it's fine. And it sounds like it's finally going to happen. So good for them. I know that Anthony Bass is, just out of curiosity, where is Anthony Bass in this whole thing? But regardless, Yimi Garcia, that's the guy we've been going with this whole time. And if you invested in Yimi Garcia because of our suggestions, then good for you. It looks like your patience is going to finally pay off here. By the way, 25% ownership rate for Yimi Garcia.
Yeah, he was great. Granted, when I went and looked in NFBC, he was actually owned in almost 90% of leagues, and I was like, well, NFBC, I don't want to say people are a little bit smarter over there, but
no, but that's what it is. And
yeah,
CBS,
it's like a little bit more pros. The people that are putting like 15 grand on a league.
And CBS is it's one thing about CBS. At least it's not ESPN or Yahoo, where I believe
Carlos Santana still has catcher eligibility.
Yeah, that too. So it's kind of like the Wild West over there. But CBS, you have to pay to use their website. So Anthony Bass is at 38%. So nobody believes in the Marlins closing situation because it's not a high ownership rate. But hey, if you need a closer, there's a really good chance that Yimi Garcia is available, and it looks like he's going to get all the save opportunities he can handle. So go out and get him if you haven't already. So where do we move from here then, Sean?
I had just sent to you in the chat 2 teams, but before we get to those 2 teams, I see Corey Richmond saying, "Good morning, guys." And I would be remiss if we talked bullpens and we did not talk about the Cleveland Indians, which is making me pull my hair out. Oh my goodness. Right now they have Clase has the most saves out of the 2. He has 2, I think. But there's also Nick Whitgrin and James Karinchak. Obviously, Karinchak blew up onto the scene in 2020, posting outrageously high strikeout numbers, but somewhat scary walk numbers. Nick Whitgrin is just one of those boring pitchers that Cleveland's developed. They sprinkle a little dust and he just gets better and better and better and better. But he has actually looked not good to the start of the 2021 season. Has only appeared in 2 games. He picked up a save in one of them and looked really bad in the other. So pick your poison here. But right now it's looking like Emmanuel Clase is the closer in Cleveland. The man of the 100-mile-an-hour cutter seems to have locked down the job early in spring. And as someone who drafted Karinchak in the top 100 multiple times, I'm feeling like a dummy. But granted, in a lot of those leagues where I drafted Karinchak in the top 100, I also drafted Clase outside of the top 300 as a sort of handcuff. And so I'm feeling pretty good about that as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are basically, if you pitch for the Indians, you were getting high marks from us. The only bad thing that we can't, predict for is how I think you cursed his name on Thursday, but it's the way Tito Francona uses that bullpen, and sure enough,
and I mean, for all we know, that might be a directive coming down from the front office of, these guys they don't want them in their first year of arbitration to cost $5 million because they had a 30 save season somewhere in the year or two prior. And so they might just get Nick Whitgrin some saves. Hopefully he rounds back into form, and then they trade him. And then they only have like a half season to get like maybe 20 saves.
It's a real screwy way to manage baseball. And it's just a shame because, Cleveland can win. Like we talked about how don't give up on Cleveland yet. I mean, until they start trading away pieces, but they have, as long as Francona is managing and they have this factory of pitchers.
The offense looks really bad, but it's one of those they match up relatively well. And exactly. I don't even think they've hit like their best thing, because right now that team is designed, I believe, to hit lefties. A lot of their good bench pieces are lefties. Ahmed Rosario, one of the pieces they got back for Lindor, much better against lefties. It's just, I believe they need help. They need to trade for help, and I'm not sure if they're not going to do it. They can.
Not that they can. They're not willing to do it. They're not going to do it. And it's a shame because, like we mentioned all the pitchers we just talked about, and they're just going to waste. It's a real tragedy going on in Cleveland, unfortunately.
Yeah, so. three games in for Clase, 3 perfect innings, no hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and all the rest have just been absolutely weak contact on the ground, as you would expect from a cutter averaging 99.5 miles an hour.
Shoot, he was throwing 101 the other day. Shoot, man.
I mean, he's an absolute monster.
Let's see here. You wanted to talk about the Dodgers, and we got Corey Knebel just shooting up the.
I was say, did we have Corey Knebel having more saves than Kenley Jansen through a week plus? I didn't.
What we did say was Kenley Jansen looks like he's at the end of his tenure in Los Angeles, but they're going to keep throwing him out there in the 9th inning because he's Kenley Jansen, and then boom, we get Corey Knebel instead, and who's looked absolutely fantastic from what I've been reading. Yep. Corey Knebel, here we go. 6 strikeout per walk ratio. He has a 54.5% strikeout rate.
Yeah, he's throwing the curveball more than ever. It's absolutely because he's always had that great knuckle curve. And he's just, I believe he only got through one of his last outings. I think he threw like 8 curveballs and 3 fastballs. It was absolutely wild.
96.5 on his 4-seam fastball on average. He has a 19.5 swinging strike rate. I mean, he looks great, man. He looks fantastic so far. And if you're the Dodgers, was that the way you want to go with now, or do you have is there some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Some favoritism towards Kenley Jansen because he's Kenley Jansen?
I mean, as we just have seen, Kenley Jansen has the 1 save. He has the blown save. Corey Knebel is 2 for 2. Blake Trinan is just kind of in this limbo of they don't know where they want to pitch him. Yeah. So right now, I believe everyone's going to run after Knebel to get those Dodger saves. But it's one of those. I feel like it's still too early to call.
Well, here's how it looks right now. Kenley Jansen has not pitched since Wednesday, and I don't know what that was, but he threw 22 pitches. On Tuesday, he threw 18 pitches. We haven't seen him since. What we have seen has been a heavy dose of Blake Trinan, Corey Knebel, Victor Gonzalez, Jimmy Nelson. They have Jimmy Nelson too. They just have all the Brewers.
Jimmy Nelson.
All the Brewers players are on this team now. Scott Alexander on Saturday, Dennis Santana. I mean, we talked about it on the offseason. That's a deep ass team right there. And who needs Kenley Jansen right at this point? So which sucks because he was drafted. I mean, he was like a top 5, top 6 reliever, still closer, because of the save situation. Because
in the Baseball Life League, I drafted him and Kimbrell and Diaz.
Yeah, what the hell's wrong with you?
Hey, it's kind of working out for me so far, mainly because of Kimbrell, but and then the last team that really has a interesting bullpen development, and that's partially due to injury, is the Oakland A's, where they lose Trevor Rosenthal. He just had part of his rib removed as the alleviation of symptoms of thoracic outlet, which leaves a really weird motley crew. The most A's looking closer by committee I think I've seen in quite some time, with Lou Trevino, Jake Diekman, and Sergio Romo. And Lou Trevino is a guy who I really liked coming out of the 18 season. He was great backing up for Blake Trinan that year in the 8th inning. He throws extremely hard, but the control kind of left him in 2019, and he had an ERA over 5 in 2019, so it was really a down year. In 2020, the walks came back down, the strikeouts actually went up. ERA was back in the mid threes, and so far to start off this year, he's appeared in 5 games for 6 2/3 innings, strikeouts per 9 almost at 11, walks per 9 right around 4, and a 1.3 ERA. He's a high ground ball guy. I think he, of all people, has the best chance to run with this job. And that's how Lucas Kelly has it set up on his little spreadsheet. Jake Diekman and Sergio Romo are also guys that, based on matchups, and I can't give up on Sergio Romo. And especially in a ballpark like Oakland, where he throws nothing but sliders, gets all these fly balls. There's a lot of room in that ballpark for fly balls to get caught. But Jake Diekman probably has the best overall stuff, but he's a lefty, not named Aroldis Chapman. So he will not get the majority of the saves, I do not think. But I think he is that group is going to be interesting to watch. Romo might get you a weird amount of saves, just like he did last year. I think he had like 4 or 5 saves last year, and nobody even realized it when he was in Minnesota.
Nobody cared.
Yeah, nobody cared. Sergio Romo just out here throwing frisbees, and we're all living our best lives.
Lou Trevino, previous week, according to CBS Sports, 1% ownership rate. This week,
it's got to be so much higher. He's got to be a guy that you go get.
Right now it's gone up to 19%. So he is among. With that being said, he is among one of the most added players in the league right now, with an 18% change there. As far as the bullpen situation goes, you mentioned a little bit, but just to give you another way of looking at things, so far Roster Resource has Lou Trevino, Jake Diekman, and Sergio Romo as closer by committee. And not a single Oakland A's pitcher has gotten a save opportunity this week at all.
It's also because they're not very good.
Well, that's another problem, right? I mean, even bad teams need closers, but damn, I mean, the last time anybody, a reliever, got anything was a hold was Lou Trevino on Friday. And then Yusmeiro Petit just does Yusmeiro Petit things and gets 2 cheap wins on Friday and Wednesday.
It's like Connor Brogdon. He had 3 wins through like 5 games, the legend that he is.
All right. Well, that's the Oakland A's situation. I just want to quickly point out some guys who are on the top of the Fangraphs leaderboard. There's Jake Mcgee, who we both liked in the offseason, and it looks like he is the undisputed. So we talked about who did we talk about? Jake Diekman not being Aroldis Chapman. Well, Jake Mcgee is the Aroldis Chapman of the National League, along with Will Smith. It is
a little interesting because in San Francisco, Jake Mcgee has been their guy so far. But Wandy Peralta, a name that I have not heard in a large blue moon. Wandy Peralta picked up a save, and I think it was because Jake Mcgee had pitched back-to-back days, something to that effect.
Okay.
But Wandy Peralta looked good. The velocity was up, and I was like, oh, what is this? These butterflies that are inside of me. But, Jake Mcgee being the lefty, and his last name's not Chapman. That's going to be our thing. So, Jake Mcgee and then another lefty, Will Smith. And I think I heard you say him right before.
Yeah, I did mention him. Yep.
And now with Chris Martin on the IL, that leaves the 3 best pitchers in Atlanta's bullpen are all lefties. Will Smith, lefty. AJ Minter's a lefty. Tyler Matzek, who might be the best one out of all 3, is a lefty. So, goodness gracious, it's going to be interesting, but Will Smith does have the majority of those saves right now. Matzek has been the setup guy. That's the role he thrived in last year in 2020, and nobody talked about him, but he was really good. But yeah, that's interesting lefty closer situations to keep an eye on.
So we went from Oakland A's to the San Francisco Giants across the bay. Just wanted to point out, you mentioned Jake Mcgee got the 25 pitch save on Monday. And then he took a rest on Tuesday. Wandy Peralta got the save on Wednesday.
That's what it was.
And that was the second of a back-to-back right there for him. But Mcgee has just been getting. Oh, and by the way, Peralta got the save for Jake Mcgee, who got the win. So Mcgee, when he's not saving, he's winning. All he does is save and win. The holds are Tyler Rogers and Reyes Moranta. Moranta was a guy we mentioned in the offseason as well. And Tyler Rogers, he's a favorite of our show because he's a submarine thrower.
And he's also in Lucas I can't even remember his name, but he is a likely candidate for a save chance today. Oh no, that's the other Rogers.
Taylor Rogers,
Taylor Rogers is a likely candidate for a save today. Colome's thrown 20 pitches like the last 2 days. And Tyler Rogers and Reyes Morons are likely candidates for a save today if Jake Mcgee is not available, since he's thrown back-to-back in 3 of the last 4.
And I was going to mention that too. You took the words right out of my mouth. Tyler Rogers, who is the brother of Taylor Rogers, who might get some saves. Hey, listen, I'm happy with Taylor Rogers though. He's on my team, and he's
killing ratios right now. He hasn't got a save. I don't think he has one save or one hold, but I don't think he's allowed a hit. He's getting a lot of strikeouts. You gotta love it.
Doesn't matter.
Screw you, Alex Colome.
I am so happy with Taylor Rogers right now. I don't care that he doesn't get any saves he got the L last night, but it probably wasn't his fault. Probably somebody else's fault.
It wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault, damn it. It was Tyler Duffy or Alex Colome. But anyway, let's move on to let's see. Ian Kennedy. I wanted to talk to you about
there is one last team. The one last committee.
You want to talk about that, or you want to talk about Ian Kennedy first?
Who the hell wants to talk about Ian Kennedy?
Well, apparently he has all the save opportunities he can handle. He has 2 saves. It looks like he's the undisputed.
Where is he, in Texas?
He's with the Rangers.
Okay,
man.
yeah.
We talked about.
I still thought Matt Bush would, not Matt Bushnell, friend of the show, but Matt Bush. I thought Matt Bush would run away with that job.
No, Ian Kennedy throwing 94.9 miles an hour with the exit velocity of 101 miles an hour against.
I want none of Ian Kennedy, but I will take 2 of the guys in Arizona. I recently in my 30 team dropped Stephon Crichton. He's picked up almost all of their holds, but none of their saves. Kevin Ginkel, who we've all seen before, has absolutely great stuff. I mean, he's got the closer's repertoire, but his command just often leaves him. And that's in 2020, he ended up having an ERA over 6. Meanwhile, in 2019, we thought he was the next big thing in Arizona. He had an ERA at under 1.5 through 25 games. And he's looking better this year. Once again, sinker baller, keeps the ball on the ground, throws it hard, good breaking ball. But with Joakim Soria on the injured list, it's either going to be Kevin Ginkel or Stephon Crichton. I believe there's one name back there that I'm forgetting about that's going to irk me if I don't look.
Taylor Clark.
Taylor Clark is the guy they have third up, but it's he is not the one. Yohan Lopez. Yohan Lopez.
Oh, not
the Cuban import. He has such great stuff, and he's just always back and forth on whether he's actually good or not. But those are the guys that I would keep an eye on back there.
I thought Swarzak sounded familiar, though. He used to play for the Mets.
Yeah, Anthony Swarzak, he had that really good year with the Brewers. The Mets gave him a 2-year deal, and he did nothing. But
I had high hopes for him.
This is all because Chris Davinsky was randomly placed on the restricted list. Wow. They said it's not COVID related. I don't know exactly if there's been any updates on what happened. But he was placed on the restricted list earlier this week.
I might have an answer for you, Sean, if I may here. So,
and then of course Soria and Clippard are hurt, so
that'll help. Yeah. But anyway, here's the thing. All right, so we looked at I looked at the top 30 reliever pitchers. Now I flipped it in reverse, and now here's the bottom of the list, like we did with the starting pitchers and the hitters on Thursday. Listen to this list, man. It's like a who's who of the Total Bases podcast darlings here. The worst pitcher with the worst WAR, according to Fangraphs, with him and Chris Davinsky, who's at the very bottom of this list with negative 0.4, is Amir Garrett.
Yeah, Amir Garrett he is one of those only guys with 2 or more saves, but he has a 15 ERA. Rafael Iglesias has another guy with 2 saves, and he has like a 7.5 ERA. So it's one of those like, did you get saves this week? Yes. How much did it cost? Everything.
That's gonna be. I feel like that's gonna be a running theme for season 2 of this show. 16.7 strikeout rate from Amir Garrett so far. Are you panicking if you're an Amir Garrett owner?
I was, and then I traded him to Jacob in our 30 team, but he was so freaking good in spring training. He was just overpowered.
It's just practice, man.
It's just practice. And then he comes out here and he gives up a couple of walks and he gives up a dinger or two. But right now it appears that Cincinnati is going to let him run with it. Although Lucas Sims is, right on his heels. And as much as it pains me to say it, Sean Doolittle looks like he's somewhat back. The velo, which he could barely get into the 90s the last 2 years, is suddenly sitting 94, 95 again. So if Amir Garrett stumbles, he is on a team that could easily replace him. And there's even more than just those two guys and Sims and TJ Garrett. Anton, they have TJ Antone. Yeah, you take the words right out of my mouth. But so I wouldn't be too worried about it. I think over the last few years, Amir Garrett has been better than all of these guys. So they're going to give him some run. Plus, he just has like that attitude of being a closer. Like, I'm here, I'm gonna shut you guys out, and you're going home. Like,
and if any of those guys fails, there's always Carson Fulmer, the former White Sox failed prospect there. He's
actually looked pretty good, surprisingly.
Yeah, well, of course he does because he's not with the White Sox anymore. So we talked about Amir Garrett, Chris Davinsky, one of the worst relievers, which sucks because for a while he was one of the best over in Houston.
Most underrated relievers too.
Very underrated, and just it's a shame. I don't know what's going on with him. Anthony Bass, who we just mentioned, and there's your guy Matt Bush, who's at the very bottom of this list. Drew Rasmussen as well, which really sucks. As I remember we talked about him glowingly, and now he 30.8 strikeout rate.
The strikeout rate is promising. He's given up a couple of home runs that have allowed basically all of the runs to score. I'm not giving up on Rasmussen yet. I don't think I'm not doing it.
And as predicted, Greg Holland sucks. And
shocker.
He doesn't even have any saves. What's the point of having him on the team if he's not getting you any saves? I don't get it.
I'm trying to think who's picked up the saves in Kansas City, if there have been any.
Good question. I
don't even know. Somebody picked up a save on Monday. Jesse Hahn. That's boring.
Oh, Jesse Hahn. Look at that.
Scott Barlow picked up a hold.
We talked about him.
Can we just make Josh Stalmont the closer, please?
We've been patiently waiting.
Well, my patience is thinning.
No, you have to be with the Royals. They don't know what the hell they're doing, and they have to justify Greg Holland. And Greg Holland hasn't pitched since Wednesday. And where's Josh Stalmont? Josh Stalmont, yeah. What the? Oh, okay,
they have Greg Holland and Wade Davis. They're trying to bring back the yesteryears, boys.
So, and Fangraphs has fizzled out on me. I guess they haven't updated all their guys from Friday and Saturday because it looks like nobody pitched for the Royals on Friday and Saturday. So,
they did have a game postponed Saturday, and I'm not sure if they played Friday.
Oh yeah, right, the White Sox game, right?
Yeah,
is that
yeah? They were supposed to play the White Sox. They got postponed.
That would explain it. Thank you for that. But yeah, Wade Davis is on that team, so. They like to think that they have options, and they're holding our guy Josh Stalmont back. And then just quickly going through this list, Tanner Rainey, that's shocking that he's off to a little slow start. Sean Armstrong.
I think that's only 1 or 2 appearances, and he had a late start. Right. He had a late start in spring training. He had a collarbone thing. I'm not terribly worried. If anything, that just gives Brad Hand more opportunities to suck in the closer.
Oh man, it's Tanner Rainey. I expect him to just go out there running with that blazing fastball, which it is, but it's not shutting down. Well, it didn't shut anybody out. Sean Armstrong, who I thought could be a thing, I guess not. Devon Williams at the bottom of the list. Is it panic time in Milwaukee if Devon Williams is at the bottom of the list, Sean?
He's given up more runs this year than he did in all of last season.
What?
No, I wouldn't be too worried. He's still got some of the best stuff I think I've ever seen in a relief pitcher. Once Josh Hader gets traded, then Devon Williams is going to be a closer, and then he's going to be awesome, and then we're all going to forget that we even had this conversation.
Andrew Miller, but he's old, so that makes sense that he's at the bottom. But Tyler, not Tyler Rogers. I don't want to talk about him. It was Liam Hendricks, who's off to a very slow start. So much for that. For the White Sox, and there's your guy Jesse Hahn, who's at the bottom of this list, and
he ain't my guy.
Well, we just mentioned him, so. And the last person I wanted to mention, Enoli Paredes, who's somebody we talk about all the time here. 3 games in, has a 50% walk rate against a 16.7% strikeout rate. Still has that blazing fastball, 95.4 mile per hour. But no, this is not what we expected from Enoli Paredes, even though he is a young, unproven guy. Yeah. So that's disappointing. All right. Anything else about relievers that you wanted to mention today?
I think that's just about it.
All right. Where do we go from here?
2 starts?
2 starts. Oh, I actually have a list for you.
There you go. Thank you so much. I was gonna work on finding a list, but if you have a list, that's even better.
So this list is I just quickly went on CVS Sports with my fantasy league that I have there, and I just started looking. Okay, so who's 75%? Who has a 75% or lower ownership rate, which is pretty high, but there's a little bit of a window there for those who are looking desperately for a 2-start pitcher this upcoming week. So I went up to as high as 78% just to put in Nathan Eovaldi in there. And here's what the list is: it's the top 25 2-star pitchers who are 78% or lower available at cvssports.com. And I have it sorted by wins above replacement according to Fangraphs. And at the very top of this leaderboard for these 2-star pitchers is Justice Sheffield. What do you think about that, Sean? Justice Sheffield are your number one priority according to WAR here.
And who are his 2 matchups against?
I'm looking into it right now, but just to get a glimpse of how his season's going, 20% strikeout rate, which is not good. What the?
Yeah, that's
Oh, you know what? That's based on 21 season as well. So it's a combination of the 2020-21 season. So my bad. That's not what I wanted to do. But let's go. Justice Sheffield. Let's see if I could find them here. Justice Sheffield. And I still can't find them. Go ahead. Give me something good about Justice Sheffield.
He has looked better, and he's kind of figuring out more how to use this stuff to his advantage. But he's still a guy that I'm not like, unless it's a great matchup, then I'm not going to go out of my way to start him just because he has 2 starts.
So here's the matchup, all right? Oh, hey, sometimes quantity is more, but I agree with your sentiment there. But some owners just want that quantity over quality. But here it is. He's at Baltimore on Monday, and he's hosting the Houston Astros and Christian Javier on Sunday. What do you like about them apples?
Wait, it was still on Sheffield or Dean Kramer?
This is for Justice Sheffield. Oh. Justice Sheffield's facing Dean Kramer at Baltimore and Christian Javier in Seattle.
And it's in Baltimore. Yeah, I'm out on Sheffield if it's in Baltimore. If it was Baltimore at Seattle and then he got to play Houston, then it's still risky, but it's a maybe. But if it's in Baltimore, no thanks.
All right.
Hard pass.
Took him out of the list there. So now we're down to the top 24, and let's find out who the 2021's what it looks like for 2021. Nathan Eovaldi at the very top of the list. That's more like it, along with Matthew Boyd. So I mentioned Eovaldi is owned in 78% of leagues, according to CBS Sports, and Matthew Boyd is surprisingly only owned in 67% of leagues. And if you want, I can tell you who they're facing this week. I already picked up Eovaldi, despite the fact that he's facing Kenta Maeda and Lucas Giolito. That's a murderer's row. But you know what? If he's looked as good as he's looked so far, you kind of have to roll the dice, don't you, Sean?
Yeah, you definitely do.
And then
we talked about Matthew Boyd on Thursday. There's been a slight pitch mix change. He's avoiding the fastball, which has just been destroyed the last 2 years, and he's focusing more on his great breaking ball and adding that changeup and utilizing it more often. And it's worked out so far.
Yeah, and his matchups are a little bit easier. Christian Javier in Houston on Tuesday, and then at Oakland versus Chris Bassett, your ace for your Oakland Athletics. So I think I like Matthew Boyd a little bit more than Nathan Eovaldi at this point. I didn't realize Eovaldi had a murderous rope, but like again,
I do like this one. He is owned in 72% of leagues. But Carlos Rodon.
There he is.
In Chicago against Cleveland and at Fenway. That's Fenway has some lefty boppers though, so that might make it a little bit tougher. But as long as JD Martinez is back, because he just went on the IL after receiving the vaccine, I guess it was messing him up a little bit. So
that sucks.
But Carlos Rodon is a guy that keep an eye on, definitely for sure.
76% owned at CBS. Tristan McKenzie and then Martin Perez. Yeah, that's a good one right there. Rodon, for those wondering what he's been doing so far. Let's see here. 40.9% strikeout rate, 95.4 mile per hour four-seam fastball, 81.1 exit velocity against. That's
just huge. The velocity is back up from the left side. Like that is just absolutely huge for him.
Definitely. That definitely will play. I've also selfishly speaking here, Sean, I picked up Dane Dunning because he also has 2 starts. So I'm hoping that he could just hold his own and get me some cheap points in my points league. Dane Dunning faces Tyler Glasnow at Tampa Bay, and then he's home against Dean Kramer and the Orioles.
It might be Joe Adell time.
For what?
Joe Adell time. Dexter Fowler out for the year, torn ACL.
Oh, okay. What about Dane Dunning though?
Dane Dunning is a good, I guess. He plays for a bad team. He's not going to get a lot of wins.
He's only had one start so far, so there's a sample size problem, but he has 33.3 strikeout rate, 91.3 sinker fastball.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a 30% strikeout guy.
No, I don't either. But
I think he's a good pitcher. I just don't think he's a 30% strikeout guy, though.
Yeah, that has fluke written all over him. But I like my chances against that second matchup against the Orioles. So hopefully that's into something, despite the fact that the Orioles do have some boppers in that lineup. But we'll see if this will play. It's a 2-start pitcher, so I'll probably drop him as soon as he gets his brains beaten in by the Rays, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, either that or I start Julian Merriweather, right? So, and I'm not liking that either. Let's see who else is on this list.
Casey Mize is in for a 2-start week.
Thank you for that, Casey.
Both at Houston, which is risky, but at Oakland has struggled. So unless that could actually be a good 2-start matchup, I believe, for Casey Mize.
What if I tell you that he has to face Zach Greinke and Frankie Montas in those 2 starts?
Frankie Montas has like a ERA of infinity so far.
What is he, a car?
What?
Is he a
like
car?
Like the car.
The Q30. Well, Casey Mize, 96 mile per hour fastball, 4-seamer, 89.6 exit velocity. So that definitely will play. Again, it's only 1 start and he only went 4 innings. So again, same thing with the Dane Dunning issue. But like Sean mentioned, that the second start against Oakland might be all worth it. Also on the docket, Wade Miley, who's at the top of this list for some reason, after only 1 start, but it was a very strong start. 28.6 strikeout rate, not a very good fastball, but he has an exit velocity against of 78.8 miles an hour.
Oh, who is that?
Wade Miley of the Cincinnati Reds.
There's nothing that can get me excited about Wade Miley. Just stop it.
Okay, let me try to convince you here then. He's only owned in 33% of leagues, and according to CBS, he has Aaron Sanchez in San Francisco on Monday, and then he has to come back on Sunday to Cincinnati, Ohio, and face Shane Bieber in that derby there.
Nope.
You still know?
No Wade Miley for me.
All right. What about Antonio Senzatella, who has 2 starts under his belt? They're crappy starts, but he's up top of the WAR leaderboard right now.
He pitched an absolute gem in his last start after the Dodgers absolutely throttled him in his first. And he is just like the most frustrating Colorado pitcher that if he didn't pitch in Colorado, he'd probably be a solid pitcher. I mean, just like overall, because he's a pitch to contact. He never strikes anybody out. And he just, it was something stupid. Like he went 8 innings. I think he only gave up 1 or 2 runs and he got 14 ground ball outs. And I think he had like 3 strikeouts. And I'm like, that is just insane.
He does possess a 94.4 mile per hour. So that's pretty healthy. He has Dustin May and Taijuan Walker on his schedule. The one against the Dodgers is in Colorado.
Nope.
Do you still nope. Skip?
Nope.
If you are, for those who are desperate though, and believe in that ground ball tendency, he's owned in only 8% of leagues. Next on the docket is Aaron Sanchez, who we talked about him on Thursday. Do you want to know? Do you want to just say yes or no? Or you want to find out who he faces this week?
Yeah. Well, who is Aaron Sanchez going up against this week?
All right. If I could spell correctly, I just spelled ass Sanchez. Let's see here. Where he's at the bottom of the ownership rate. He's only owned 9% of leagues in CBS. Wade Miley and Pablo Lopez in Miami. That's not too bad.
That isn't terrible in Miami.
Compared to the other ones.
What was the other one in Miami and what else?
He's at home against the Giants against Wade Miley, who we just mentioned.
Okay. That's not
I mean, it's better than Wade Miley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the bottom of the docket here. Kyle Gibson, Rangers. He's looked good and bad, I guess. 28.1% strikeout rate, but he still gets lit up. He faces the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa and John Means and at home against the Baltimore Orioles. Again, Texas Rangers pitcher Kyle Gibson. Yes or no?
No.
Okay, let's skip him then.
Trevor Cahill's in for 2 starts, but I don't want to talk about him.
Well, you mentioned it. Let's go. 1% owned and CBS leagues. Yu Darvish and Brett Anderson on Saturday at Milwaukee. Yes or no?
And it's funny because you know that in one of those starts, he's probably going to throw a great game. I would argue probably against Milwaukee, but oh God, I don't want to, like, that just seems like such a risky play.
Is it riskier than Nate Eovaldi going against 2 really good matchups over there?
I would pick Nate Eovaldi just because what he's been doing so far.
And just to remind folks, Nate Eovaldi has Kenta Maeda and Lucas Giolito, and Trevor Cahill has Yu Darvish and Brett Anderson. So
hey, he's gonna go toe to toe with him.
With what, Yu Darvish?
Yeah, you're right. you got it. You're learning.
You got it. There's a guy named Huascar Ynoa for the Braves.
He is interesting. He is actually he was throwing, what was it, off
96 miles per hour.
Yeah, 96 average from the left side. A lot of people thought that Bryce Wilson really had the inside track to that job.
Come on.
But Huascar Ynoa came out and really looks good. So
Pablo Lopez and Adbert Alzolay on Sunday against the Cubs. That looks like a decent matchup for this guy. Maybe I should drop whoever I have and just pick this guy up instead. That's not too bad. 10% only ownership owned, so that's a good one. So yeah, that's a sneaky 2-start pitcher, right? Huascar Ynoa of the Atlanta Braves, 23 years old only. What about Danny Duffy?
Who is he playing?
Okay, sure, but do you like anything about Danny Duffy whatsoever?
I mean, you the last time I said something good about Danny Duffy, you ripped me a new one, and that was like 2 years ago.
Oh man, you're living in the past. But yeah, he really does suck though. Okay, here's this 20%.
See what I mean?
20% ownership. Well, he does suck though. 20% ownership, right? But this is about matchups though, right? So here's the matchups: Griffin Canning on Tuesday and Ross Stripling on against the Blue Jays on Sunday.
So Danny Duffy, lefty versus the Angels, and lefty versus the.
And they're both home games for the Royals.
So he gets. I do like Danny Duffy and guys like Danny Duffy and Mike Minor and Kaufman. You said Angels, and I couldn't remember the other starting pitcher.
Blue Jays, Ross.
The Blue Jays.
Yeah,
the Blue Jays look like a team that are going to absolutely murder lefties this year. So probably no.
That's a no. Okay, Martin Perez, another clone like Danny Duffy. To me, they're the same guy.
Yeah, there's not much separating them there.
So Martin Perez gets J.A. Happ and Carlos Rodon.
Ugh.
No, right? Okay. What about J.A. Happ? He has Martin Perez and Jose Quintana at Anaheim on Saturday. 36% owned.
J Happ against the Angels, no. J Happ against whoever else, no.
The Red Sox, no.
Red Sox, damn. Yeah. Both those teams are just really hitting lefties well this year, so I'm gonna just have to hold.
Well, I'm glad I talked to you about it because I was really considering him.
I mean, he's more considerable than some of the others, but yeah, just still sitting down on that.
Ryan Yarbrough for the Rays, you like him?
Yes, but he's off to a slow start, and depending on his matchups, he's risky.
All right, let's find out who the matchups are. Kyle Gibson is one. Kyle Gibson against the Rangers at home. Garrett Cole at New York.
I want to say Yarbrough has like actually good numbers versus the Yankees, just off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure, but that's a tough one because I do think he would be a great matchup in Texas. So yeah, that I would actually, if I had him on my team, because I'm assuming he's available in most leagues or isn't available in most leagues, but if I had him on my team, I'm definitely starting him in a 2 week like that.
Who you talking about? Ryan Yarbrough not being available? Let's see here. Yarbrough is owned in 72% of leagues. So yeah, time's running out if you're interested in Yarbrough.
Yeah, he should be owned in almost every league. I think a lot of people sleep on him just because he doesn't get strikeouts, but he should be owned in most leagues.
Here's a bit of a wild card, and I don't know what to make of John Gant. He has to face Steven Strasburg on Monday at home for the Cardinals. And he's on the road against the Phillies against Aaron Nola. So a couple of tough on paper matchups for John.
On the road in Phillies, the thing that would hold me up on it. But at home against Washington, I probably would take that matchup.
All right. So 50% mix there.
Tim LaCastro went 4 for 4 with a stolen base last night. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. They were talking about.
Corey Decker posted he went 28 for 28. It's a new National League record.
So he did go with that.
Yeah, he broke Tim Raines' major league record for most consecutive successful steals to begin a career.
So we can take him off the list, the Diamondbacks off the list, because we're doing the 30 teams, 30 days thing.
MLB for 30 for 30.
30 for 30. Where was I? Ross Stripling, Jameson Taillon against the Yankees.
Jameson Taillon.
That's Tuesday.
That's not the question. You just want to know if Ross Stripling versus the Yankees is a good
part
matchup.
Of the question.
No.
Do you like Ross? No,
I don't like Stripling against the Yankees.
And then he has Danny Duffy at Kansas City.
That's a more palatable matchup, pitching in Kaufman.
But do you like Ross Stripling? Do you want to take a chance?
I think he was a good buy low candidate this year. I'm not really sure if I want to, bet the farm on him. But
okay.
Can Will Smith stop being so damn good?
Which one? The catcher?
The catcher.
Both.
Yeah,
rapper,
he had another great game last night. 1 for 2 with a double, 3 walks. Oh my god, that's just.
And then Austin Barnes will play tonight.
Yeah.
Chase Anderson. Chase works with you. 15% strikeout rate, so not very good.
Oh, but Austin has a good thought here. He's
ahead.
Thinking of swapping Montas for Martin Perez. I would not do that. Or Pablo Lopez. I would do that, but I would try and keep both. I wouldn't straight up drop Frankie Montas, but definitely Pablo Lopez, if he's available in your league, get him now, especially if you have Frankie Montas, who is struggling. Speaking of, who are Montas's next starts against? Because his stuff has looked actually not terrible. He's just absolutely lost it in some of the games.
He definitely has Casey Mize on Saturday. Next Saturday.
Yeah, so in his most recent start, Frankie he went 6 innings and only gave up a run. Only had 5 strikeouts. And he's got Detroit at Oakland and in Baltimore for his next 2 starts over the next 2 weeks. But definitely do not drop Frankie Montas, but do add Pablo Lopez. Just try and find a better or a worse starting pitcher to drop.
And Pablo Lopez, 93% owned.
Yeah,
so.
Pablo Lopez should be. I'm sure he has, when he says swapping out, he's probably just talking about in the lineup. But Frankie Montas' next start is a very favorable matchup, so I would keep him in, especially coming off a strong start, 6 innings. It was a quality start, so we'll give him that.
And Lopez is a must start this week anyway. Again, we mentioned of the Braves. We kind of like him, but Lopez also has Aaron Sanchez on Sunday.
Is he pitching in San Francisco?
No, it's in Miami.
In Miami, yeah. Even better.
All right, a couple more for you. Chase Anderson for the Phillies. He has David Peterson at New York.
Wow, Pablo Lopez is a free agent in his league. Get him now. Get him as fast as you can.
Why are you even asking us? Come on, man.
Yeah.
All right, so David Peterson at New York, and then Daniel Ponce de Leon at home against St. Louis. Chase Anderson.
I would pick David. Who's the matchup for Peterson? It's going to be Philly.
I'm glad you asked. So conversely, David Peterson, who's owned in 34% of leagues, Chase Anderson at home, and then he has to go to Colorado against German Marquez.
Yeah, I don't want David Peterson in Colorado, but David Peterson pitched much better, I think, than his end of the game line looked like. He struggled in the first, gave up a home run to Alec Boehm, who is off to a solid start. Let's go. But he settled in with the next 3 or 4 innings. Jacob made a funny comment in the game thread over at Baseball Life. He said, I thought this was going to be a Steven Matz start, because Steven Matz was always so terrible in the first inning. It was like 40 pitches, 4 runs already. And he said, but it ended up just being a Zach Wheeler start, who Wheeler himself was notorious for. He'd give up runs in the first inning, and then he would lock him down for 4 innings. And then he'd go out for the end of the 5th or the 6th, and he'd give up another 2 or 3 runs, which is exactly what happened with David Peterson. But he looked to be overthrowing, it was his first start of the year. But the stuff that made him great in 2020 was still there. So I would actually take Peterson against Philadelphia this week, but definitely I'd be a little worried about the Colorado matchup.
Okay, so David Peterson or Chase Anderson, if you have to pick one, and you're
Oh,
desperate,
David Peterson.
really, even against Colorado at Colorado.
Colorado's been really bad, even at home. So yeah,
Okay, but what if
it's a tough one. It's a gamble, but
what if Ryan McMahon hits another 3 home runs and Garrett Hampson steals 3 bases? Then what? Then you look bad.
Against a lefty though.
Sure, why not?
Hey, David Peterson has a pretty good move over to first. He can hold Hampson at first base.
That's a good move.
He's a lefty. He's a lefty.
And Chase Anderson's not that good anyway. So.
Yeah, Chase Anderson's bad. I would just say that Chase Anderson is bad.
Let's see if we can finish off this list. Madison Bumgarner. He has 2 starts. Do you believe him? Do you still believe in Madison Bumgarner? And to make your life easier, Chris Bassett on Monday, and then to be determined on Sunday. So to be determined has a nasty slider.
For Washington. To be determined has a nasty slider.
For the Washington,
is it Madison Bumgarner in Oakland?
No, it's Madison Bumgarner in Arizona, and then at Washington for the second start against to be determined.
Yeah, probably not. I'd pass. Okay. I'd fold.
Dean Kramer, who it could be a thing, could not be a thing. We mentioned him already, but he's at the bottom of this list. But let's find out. Justice Sheffield at home in Baltimore, and then at the Texas Rangers against Dane Dunning, who I'm already starting Dane Dunning. But Dean Kramer, is he worth some shares this week?
Probably not. Okay. He's got to show me more.
Show me more.
Show me the money.
Let's see. 92.4 mile per hour fastball doesn't impress you?
Nope.
What about his 96.9 exit velocity? That doesn't impress you.
Nope.
Brady. Okay, so here's a favorite of yours. Brady Singer only has 1 start under his belt, but he has 2 starts coming up next week. So you're going to get all Brady Singer all the time. Do you like him? And let me tell you who he's facing. Dylan Bundy on Monday and Hyunjin Ryu on Saturday against the Blue Jays. They're both home games in Kansas City.
I'd probably pass on Singer now. Yeah. I need to see more. I don't know. The sinker slider is kind of boring. The changeup, he didn't throw it as much. He's throwing it more this year than he did last year. But the slider has gotten hit hard early so far this year, and that's supposed to be his best pitch. So
we have 2 more pitchers, Sean, and we can book this one in as we've given you all we can give you this week. And then the past week, we've done 6 episodes in the last 2 weeks, right? Is my numbers?
That's a lot.
That's a lot for us. We only go once a week, but this is a busy time of year for us. That's why we don't take any breaks because we have so much to cover. But let's get going. Let's finish off strong. We're in the 8th inning, so to speak. Chad Kuhl gets 2 starts as well.
No.
Blake Snell and at Freddie Peralta in Milwaukee on Sunday next Sunday.
What was the first one?
Blake Snell at home against the Padres in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to see Chad Kuhl go up against that Padres lineup.
And finally, 26-year-old Adver Alzolay.
Is he getting 2 starts? I thought I only saw 1.
Well, he was listed here, but let me double check if I could spell his name correctly. There he is.
Chad Kuhl is in the 91st percentile in whiff rate so far this year, though.
Does that change your mind against Blake Snell?
No.
And Freddie Peralta. Okay. So Adver Alzolay, 29% ownership rate at CVS. He gets Freddie Peralta on Monday in Milwaukee. And then Huascar Ynoa on Sunday. What say you?
No, I'm not. I don't want Alzolay against those 2 teams. Granted, now that I've pulled up Chad Kuhl on Baseball Savant, I guess this will just be an interesting little thing. But we have a slight pitch mix change. In 2020, he threw his sinker 42% of the time and his slider 34.5%, the curveball 18%, and a changeup that he very rarely threw. And that slider did really good in 2020. Had a 241 WOBA against a 40% whiff rate. And what does he do so far in his? I think he's only had 1 or 2 games, 2 starts. Yeah. He's thrown it 44% of the time, more than his sinker at 36% of the time. And his slider, again, 0.91 batting average against, a 238 WOBA against, and a 45% whiff rate. So that's interesting. He doesn't have a very good sinker, so he's not throwing it. And he's going to that slider, which is his best pitch. And as we've seen before, when a pitcher goes to their best pitch and throws it most often, then good things usually happen.
So maybe finally we get a good Pittsburgh Pirates feel good story where
yeah, but the thing with him is his walk percentage is so damn low. He just throws everything out of the zone, just looking at his heat maps. So maybe there's not as much fun to it, but you know, you got to look at the silver linings for Pittsburgh.
Quick couple of questions for you. Just yes or no. How concerned are you about Fernando Tatis? It looks like he's gonna ditch surgery, but
yeah, they're gonna try and avoid the surgery, which is what I anticipated because they have all this money tied up in Darvish and Snell over the next this year and the next 2 years. So they want to win in those 2 years or these 3 years. But if they were smart, they would just say, go get your surgery. Yeah. But I worry that they're going to avoid the surgery. He's going to come back, maybe play for a month, and then he's going to be screwed. He's going to get hurt again. This isn't one of those things that just goes away. It isn't. And he was dealing with it in spring training. He missed a couple of games early in spring training because he was complaining of shoulder soreness when he swung. And then he goes and he throws it out completely. And they're like, oh, we'll just pop it back in. And he's like, oh, I'm fine. I can play the next day. Michael Conforto wanted to play the next day too. Yeah. He said he could have. And they're like, well, you have this damage and it's not going to go away. So I don't know. I wouldn't drop Tatis in a redraft league yet. I'd hold on to him and see how long, because hey, maybe if you even get another month of semi-good production out of him, it helps you and you kind of kick the can down the road. Yeah. But I would definitely be adding Hae-Sung Kim and looking for a replacement.
Yeah, because that was some follow-up question since we're talking about it. But before we move on to the follow-up question, I this one came up. Okay, so you say don't drop Tatis in a redraft league. What does this do for his prospects in year and keeper
in
leagues
dynasty?
Or in dynasty leagues? Yeah,
it's one of those. He's so young that I wouldn't be terribly worried about it. But it's one of those.
How about this, Sean? He already had that back issue, which was supposed to be concerning, and he's just been with the shoulder injury now. It looks like he's kind of injury riddled already at a young age.
He's Carlos Correa.
Oh boy, you're gonna do that to me! Wow. And
the back would still worry me more long term, because the good comparison that we've used so far with Tatis's shoulder is Conforto. And Conforto was in the middle of that great 2017, and then he did the same exact thing. He swung, crumpled to the ground. He came back in 2018, earlier than they anticipated, and he struggled. Yeah. And then in the second half of 2018, he turned it back on again. It was a delayed period where the power just wasn't there as he was working the strength back up.
It was very frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And then he came back in 2019 and he hits 30 plus home runs. In 2020, he was great again. So it's one of those. He's going to get better from it.
But it's going to be
it's going to be time. It's probably about 16, 18 months.
And that's what I told him too. It's a long recovery from those shoulder. I mean, hand shoulder injuries for hitters it's just as bad as pitchers.
The wrist, the thumb,
knees and toes,
knees and toes.
So my friend asked me, so can I drop Kim then? Because he's not been good. I'm like, well, if you could find better, but I mean, that's a long-term play. And with Tatis's shoulder injury, you might want to keep him around as a handcuff, but you obviously like Kim as well. So you probably keep Kim on your bench if you can, right?
Yeah. If I have Tatis in any league, I am adding Kim right now before anybody else has a chance to.
Yeah.
I mean, because his batting numbers and peripherals, just looking at the early returns so far, seen about 100 pitches, 16 batted ball events on Baseball Savant. The average exit velo isn't anything great. The max exit velo is nice at 108.5, so that kind of grades out as somewhat plus power. 94th percentile in sprint speed, so we might have some stolen bases coming our way. That would be really nice.
And he had a home run last night.
Oh, did he have a home run? Nice.
Yeah, first of his career. So.
Yeah, in a 3 out of 4 walk to strikeout ratio. I'd be adding him if I have Tatis, or even if I don't have Tatis, honestly. But I would hope that if I didn't have Tatis, I would have a shortstop that's probably a more sure thing than Hae-Sung Kim.
Good stuff, man. We got a lot in a very efficient 1 hour. Unless there's something you want to discuss, we can call it a show. I know you're sick. Okay,
I'm all good. I am. You have worn me out.
Good.
You put me on the carousel, and I just went spinning.
I think about you every now and then. Thoughts send me on a hurl again. No, Blink-182. Anybody? No?
There you go.
No. Okay. All right. Well,
who do you think you are? Eno Saris doing a solo in the middle of a podcast?
Oh yeah, he does do that.
He does do that every now and then.
No, well, I think anytime anybody mentions this song, Carousel, just in general, I do think about the Blink-182 song right away. And it you know what it is, Sean? It becomes that thing with remember Cartman from South Park?
Yes.
And anytime anybody would go, I'm sailing away, and then Cartman would have to sing Styx's come sail away, can't sail away, can't sail away, can't sail away with me. So yeah.
Hey, I was watching a TikTok, and this it was a Hispanic teenager, and he said that his grandmother came home, or his mother had taken their, I'm not sure if it was a younger sibling or a grandchild or something like that. And his mom said, yeah, I took him in Spanish, of course. I took him to the mall, and, we had a lot of fun. I let him ride the horse tornado. And he said, the what? And she said, oh, the horse tornado. And she was trying to say the carousel. And he said, just imagine if somebody came up to you and said in Spanish, oh God, I can't remember what tornado is in Spanish, but it was like, oh, caballos, tornadoes. Honestly, he said, that's scary.
Honestly, I don't even know how to say tornado in Spanish. I just say, oh, ahí viene un tornado.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But she called the little carousel at the mall the horse tornado. And so when I saw Close or Carousel and I first said that, I said, I got to get this into the pod somehow.
Well, how big of a song is Carousel for Blink-182? It has its own Wikipedia entry. So there you
Interesting.
Go. Yeah, it's one of their from their indie days and before they became big, and it has its own Wikipedia. I would have never thought that, but catchy song, at least in my viewpoint. Okay, for Sean, I am Felipe. Be sure to check out the rest of the shows. You mentioned Corey Richmond on this on the chat earlier today. He's busy as a bee right now, as there's like a million wrestling shows to go through for this poor guy. As when WrestleMania comes to town, every wrestling promotion comes to town as well. So I don't know. You'll like this, Sean. A little bit of a baseball tie-in. I thought I saw that because they have it in Tampa Bay, in that where the Buccaneers play.
Yeah. Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah. Well, WrestleMania was on a rain delay. I thought I would never see the day where I would hear that. So it makes me giggle. But yeah. So,
well, you tell me they can't fake wrestle in the rain?
I guess not. No, they need to have perfect conditions for all
they would have been. Hey, it would have looked even better with like the slick skin. Like that sells. That sells, man.
Look at you. I would have loved to have seen Vince McMahon. You're gonna wrestle in a rain and hell match. Rain and hell cell match at Raymond James Stadium. Yeah. So what's the other shows? There's our show. We're on Sunday morning.
Dong City tomorrow night, I believe.
Dong City tomorrow night with Henry and Vince. The Audible on Tuesday nights. They're going through the draft process as we're getting closer to the NFL draft. You're going to watch the NFL draft there, Sean?
Probably a little bit. The first few picks.
Yeah. You have an NFL team? I forget.
Not really. Not necessarily. I follow the Rutgers guys, sadly.
The Rutgers guys? Any guys from Rutgers getting drafted in this one?
This year, I don't believe so. There might be an offensive or defensive lineman, but a lot of them are using that the extra year of eligibility that the NCAA granted.
You went like this with the twirling with the finger.
I was trying to think of it.
I thought you were going to say the carousel.
No, no, they're using that extra year of eligibility. And they did better than a lot of people expected last year. So a lot of the seniors, they want to go out on an actual high note. Wait, Sean, don't look now, but Rutgers has the 6th best recruiting class in the country.
Oh my God, Sean, are you telling me that Rutgers will win the Big Ten championship in 2021 over Ohio State or something like that?
No, don't put me on that. Don't put me on that yet.
I don't know.
They just got like the number 3 dual threat quarterback in the country, so it's kind of exciting.
You say
they haven't had a quarterback in like 6 years.
You said don't put me on that, but you keep commending them for all this stuff that they're doing, and all the seniors are coming back. I don't know.
Georgiano can recruit the hell out of some kids.
All right, what's the other shows? The step back. I think they're now on Friday nights, which is really messing me up in the head. But yeah, they just their latest episode is available on Spotify and Stitcher and TikTok. Not TikTok, sorry, Apple, I should say. So yeah, we're nearing the end, especially for fantasy basketball. I think our playoffs start tomorrow. So, and you're looking at the number 1 seed. I think you're the number 1 seed in the land. So I am going to have home court advantage throughout the playoffs if my figures are correct, unless Leon has something to say about things this upcoming week, because it's been me and him this whole time. So also our Fantrax League, Sean, you'll notice the top 3 guys as of right now with the standings, unless not including the stuff that might happen come Monday morning, but the top 3 guys happen to be the fantasy experts, you, me, and Mario Margola, who writes for Fantasy Pros and has his own fantasy website as well. So it's not a coincidence. We know what we're talking about until
we lose, and then
we lose.
just
Like,
bad luck.
bad luck. It's just bad luck. Good process, poor results. Yeah. All right, that's a good place to stop.
Hey, that's Jeff McNeil so far this year. Jeff McNeil is the only batter in baseball with a 0 BABIP so far, and he has like an average exit velo of like 93.
Does he really have a 0 BABIP?
He has a 0 BABIP because he has 1 hit, and it was that game-tying home run on Thursday.
Well, at least it makes it count, right? I mean, you know how I like my slappy hitters hitting home runs. So slapping them to left field on a line. Fuck it. Oh, sorry. All right. So for Sean, I am Felipe. Let's go get some food, Sean. We will see you next time. Have a good one, everybody.